Before we get into the actual tips segment of the presentation with showing you how to manipulate graphics in the CutUps Clip Art, I need to show you how to access the CD. The first thing you want to do is insert the CD into your drive on your computer. Opening your version of CorelDraw, simply go to File, Open. Then you are going to navigate on your computer to that particular drive. Open the CutUps folder, and you can see the files on the disk are broken down into the same categories that are outlined in the book, which comes with the package, a counter book that you can show customers or take on sales calls. So if a customer wants a design, for instance, out of the basketball section of the book, simply open the basketball folder. You have two file formats for all the designs. You have CDR, which is CorelDraw, that's what we'll be using today, and you also have EPS. So if you have just a design and you wanted it as is, you can usually import an EPS file straight into your cut driver software to cut, or you can use the EPS format to import things into Adobe Illustrator if that's your design program of choice. But today we'll be opening all CDR files since this tutorial is about manipulating the CutUps Clip Art in CorelDraw. Something important to reference, I'll go to a different view here so you can actually see the designs. Something important to reference is the code of each particular clip art file. You can see everything starts with CU and then a number directly after that. CU3 stands for CutUps 3-inch. Every single clip art file in the package has a CU3 or a 3-inch version, and if you scroll down further you also see a 10-inch version. The reason we've done this, it really makes the clip art ideal and perfect for heat transfer materials. If you were to just open a 10-inch design, often there's a lot of detail in the design because you're able to cut that detail in the design at a 10-inch size. But if you take a 10-inch design and you size it down to say 3-inch for a pocket size or for a hat or a sleeve, then it becomes fairly difficult. The line thicknesses go way small and there's a lot of detail, probably detail that you're not wanting to weed. So basically the 10-inch design is your most complex version of the graphic, and then a 3-inch design is a simplified version of the graphic without all the detail. So for this particular tip, which is going to be how to trim a design for placement coming from the bottom seam up of the shirt, I'm going to open a 10-inch design. So let's start by simply picking a clip art. And it sizes automatically onto the page. Now, once you have your clip art on the page, it's time to manipulate it. The simple trim function that I'll show you here is going to be perfect. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create this graphic in a way so I'm going to cut off the legs because I want it to look like he's actually coming out from the bottom of the shirt that we're going to decorate. In order to execute the trim function, you need to identify the area that you want to trim. I'm going to simply click on my rectangle tool on the left-hand toolbar. I'm going to left click and drag that rectangle around the design and let the line fall exactly where I want the design to be trimmed from. So let's trim it somewhere around the knee to waist area. And I'm just going to right click so I can see the box outline. I want it to view as a hairline. I right clicked on the black color. Now the box is selected. What I need to do is with my pick tool I need to also select the basketball player. So I'll hold the shift key, click on the basketball player, and now both objects are selected. That's just a simple selection thing in CorelDraw. You can hold shift to select multiple objects or control and click on all the objects you want selected. Once both objects are selected, it pops up a menu in the top screen that allows me to do a number of quick functions on the graphic. The particular function I'm looking for in this case is the trim function. So I'll simply click on the trim and you'll see what happens. Notice how everything that was within the box disappeared. At this point I have exactly what I want, which is half of the graphic. It wouldn't make sense to cut the whole thing if I'm only going to utilize half of it. I'll delete the box. I don't need that any longer. It was just to complete the trim function. And now I have the bottom of my design that's going to come up from the bottom of the shirt. You can size that by clicking and dragging or by typing in the actual dimensions here, but I want this to come up from the bottom of the shirt and extend out towards the center chest. Obviously you can put this on a shirt and it can be complete, but if you wanted to leverage this piece of clip art, most people would do a text drop or something with it. So I simply clicked on the font tool, the text tool on the left hand toolbar, selected the font that I wanted to utilize, and I can type in, if it's for an event called the Hoops Classic, I can type in Hoops Classic. Click back on my selection tool and I can size that to whatever I want. Another tip, just in general, it's not necessarily clip art related, but it's important to understand about CorelDraw and cutting. Anytime you're working with text, once you've selected the actual font that you wanted the text to be, it's really tough to determine a size unless you convert it to curves. Right now it's still reading in a point size because it's not reading as an object, it's reading as a font. So with the text selected, you want to go to Arrange and click on Convert to Curves. And that's going to have it start reading as an object where I'll actually be able to see the dimensions. So I can see it's 8.2 by 1.1. I can, as long as the non-proportional sizing, scaling is checked off, I can just type in, if I want it to be 2 inches high, and it'll size the width proportionally. So if I want that to go across the center chest and have the basketball player coming up from the bottom of the garment, this is a design that's ready to cut and apply down. With the heat transfer film workflow, everything will stay pre-spaced here, so this will cut and just easy to place. Alternatively, if I were doing a whole run of these, let's say for, 24 shirts, I may want to separate these two pieces to gang them up a little better and place them manually. So I could separate them, make multiple copies, that way I don't have all this wasted space in heat transfer film, because every square inch equates to cost. So that's our first tip. It's simply how to trim a design with Stahls CutUps and how to drop customization. We have a new page open for our next tip, and this tip is actually going to be how to bring in a clip art design and place a customization component within it. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and import a different design. Sorry, actually I'll open it since they're already in the CorelDraw format. I'm going to navigate backwards to a different folder. Let's go to Police and Fire. I'm going to put medium icon so I can actually see the designs without having to reference the book right now. So I'm just scrolling down through. Let's open this fireman's helmet with kind of a flame graphic going around it. So let's just say I wanted to do this, leverage this clip art for a particular fire department. Maybe I want to put a name of the fire department and also a number in here within the design. So I'll once again select the text tool. I'm going to select the font that I want. I'm just going to stick with impact font for something simple. And let's say it's department number 7. Size it up so I can see it. And then, of course, I'm going to go to Arrange, as we learned on the last tip, and convert it to curves. And let's make that roughly 4 inches. I'm going to size the actual helmet up as well. If I want it to be proportional, I can click and drag to make it proportional to my design, which is what I want to do. I'm going to actually want to drop it in there. Now, one tip in CorelDraw, if I go to View Wireframe, it's going to show me the actual cut lines, which is important. You'll see what the cutter's reading. And if I zoom in here, you can see, you have the number 7, but you have all these cut lines within it. So if you try to cut that as a single color design, it's going to look really nasty because it's going to cut up through the number 7. It's just not something you want. You could weld that together, but I'm going to show you another function, which is a trim function. Let me drop some additional text on here to complete my design first. So let's say it's Connellsville Volunteer Fire Department. So I'm going to do Connellsville Volunteer CVFD. Once again, convert that portion of it to curves. Let's say I want to drop that underneath. Something I should show you before I drop that underneath. If you want to center, make sure the number 7. I'm going to go back to normal view so you can see it better. If you want to make sure the CVFD is centered underneath the number 7, I'm going to once again hold the Shift key to select them both. And you can go up to Arrange, Align and Distribute, and you can align the centers vertically, which means basically create a center line between the two. You can see it adjusted over slightly. That way you're not manually trying to scroll it and center it by eye. So once again, if I go back to the wireframe view, you'll see all these cut lines within the CVFD, and that's something that I don't want. So now, in order to do a trim, if I want to make this a single color design where I'm not going to overlay it, I'm going to need to trim this up. But before I trim, I need to create like a contour outline because I want there to be a gap space, a little bit of a gap space in this area. That way everything's not butt registered on the trim, which still isn't going to give me a desired result. So I'll go to Arrange and group them first so I can do a contour on everything at once. And then I go to Effects, Contour. This is a really easy way to do a 2-color, which is going to be the next tip where I'll show you on an actual piece of clip art, but I want to put a little contour to the outside, just enough to give me a gap space. Let's just keep it simple and go 0.1 and click Apply. If I change the color here, you'll see how it put that black outline around the whole thing. What I want to do then is it's reading as one object, the foreground and the background of this design. I want to break that apart and then click off of the design, because all I want to do is I want to select the clip art, and if I zoom in, I'm going to hold Shift and select the outline. Once I do those, it's going to give me my trim command, and watch what happens when I click trim. It broke apart all the components. I'll go to the wireframe view so you can see. Hitting Control Z to take a step back here. Once I click that and drag that away, let me hold Shift. Again, select both elements and try the trim function once more. Great. There, it worked a little better. I had to get that out of my way. I actually had that selected by accident. You want to make sure you're only selecting the objects that you want to trim. So now that it's trimmed this design, I'm going to bring this part back in. And if I go to the normal view, we'll see here. Now I'm going to simply delete the outline contour by selecting it and clicking delete. And you can see it basically customized the clip art now, so I can make it a one color. And when I do my placement, I don't have all those overlapping cut lines. Go to the wireframe view, and you see like now it looks like it's all one integrated design. And this is the design and how it will look on the actual garment. The next tip that I want to show you is how to make a simple 2-color piece of clip art with the contour feature. Now, we highlighted this a little bit in the last step with that text and that special trim function, but I'm going to go ahead and open another piece of clip art just to show you if you just want to take a piece of clip art and make it 2-color, it's very easy. Let's pick any category here. How about mascots would be a good one. go to a view that I can see the actual clip art pieces. I'm going to pick a 10-inch design so it's large on the screen. And let's just select this mascot. I believe it's a hawk. To create a two-color design, all you need to do is select the item, make sure the contour function is open under the effects menu, and simply apply an outline. What I'm going to do is apply it to the outside. Let's just do a 1/4 inch outline. Click apply. Click just any color on the side screen so I can see it. I'm actually going to hit Control Z. It looks like that was too much of a contour because I'm losing some of the definition in the eye. So Control Z undoes, or I can just go to Edit, Undo. And now I'm going to change the offset maybe to 0.125, something that's a little more, a little smaller for the size of this design. Apply it and change the color, and now it's looking a lot better. But it's really simple. Obviously you wouldn't be able to send this just to the cutter as is because it would cut all these cut lines if I go to the wireframe view. So when you're doing two colors, it's very important to break the layers apart. So with the object selected, go to Arrange, Break Contour Group Apart. Click off of the design onto your screen and come back and just click on the foreground color. Then you can actually drag it away. Now I have a layer that I'm going to send to the black material, and I have a layer that I'm going to send to the yellow, orange, pink, whatever color of material you're doing the combination. And the heat application step with Stahls heat transfer films, two colors are very easy. You just tack the background color for a few seconds and remove the backing, and you align the foreground color and place it directly over top. Okay, so I've went ahead and opened up a new page for my next tip, which will be using CutUps as a background design and showing you how to mirror it to create a complete background image and do a text drop over top. So I'm going to go ahead and go to File and click Open. Navigate to a new folder. Maybe we'll do soccer. Find a design that I want to use. Size it to the size I want it to be. So if I'm going to do this along with a copy of it across the front chest of a shirt, let's make it 6 inches wide. Copying is very easy. All you have to do is hit, you can right click on it actually and click copy, or you can hit Control C on your keyboard for just the shortcut. And to paste, you can right click on the page and click paste, and it drops another copy directly over top, so you actually need to just click and drag that away. That way you have both copies. Now to put this on the front of a shirt, it probably wouldn't look too good, but if you use the mirror function, which is just a quick selection on your top menu bar, I can mirror this design and start to use it, if you can visualize it, as a background element. Once again, I'm going to draw a box around everything, or select the multiple objects, and I'm going to go up to Arrange, Align and Distribute, and I'm going to align the centers horizontally to make sure they're evenly spaced. And I'll just make sure everything's spaced, and at that point, if I want to make this a Hempfield soccer shirt or something like that, I can do it. So let me just find a font. Hempfield boys soccer. Convert it to curves. And I can click and drag to size it. You can do it proportionally by grabbing the corner. Let's change the color, that way it's a foreground. It's a really easy way to just create the garment. So if you think these are kind of conflicting with each other, I mean, you can obviously pick your color combinations based on the garment and the look you want. But once again, I can use that trim function that I showed you earlier. That way we take a little bit, create a little bit of a spacing around the design, so it's a little more legible and easy to read. So I'll select Hempfield Boys Soccer. I'm going to do a contour around the outside of it. I'm going to break it apart, that way they're individual layers. And then I have options. I can select the outline. I'll zoom in again so you can see this. Let me drag away the foreground first, that way it's easier to see. I can select the outline, hold shift, and select the other objects. And I can do a trim function. Excuse me, I had to group the back objects first, so I hit Control Z to back out of that. I want to trim it to both of the back objects, so I'm going to select both of the back objects first, go to Arrange, and group them together. Now I'll be able to select that text element, the background objects, which I've just grouped, and do a trim on the whole thing. Now if I delete this, you can see there's that open space where I can just drag this back to its proper placement, and it's a lot more legible now. Now I'm going to hit Control Z and go back a couple steps, because the other option you have, let's say you wanted to keep that whole black outline but have it to the shape of the text, is you can do the weld feature. So I'm just going to go back a couple steps. Now instead of trimming this, I'll select this foreground in my background images, and I'll click on the quick weld up here in the top navigation bar. And if I go to the wireframe view before I click weld, you'll see how it'll all become one piece and get rid of all those extra cut lines that were in the center here. At this point, if you want to get rid of all this little stuff so you don't have to weed it, you just need to break apart that design. Draw a box and drag it around those center components. Click the delete button, and that gets rid of all that junk. And then you can highlight that and go to Arrange and group that back together. Let me go back to the normal view. And at this point, I'm going to cut these components separately, but if you want to just get a visual of it, you know, that's how it would drop in. I'm actually going to select this and combine it, ungroup it, and then combine it. That way those holes open back up so you can see it visually. So once again, just two unique ways that you can manipulate that artwork using the trim feature. We used the mirror feature there, we duplicated the background text, and we also showed you how to leverage the weld feature if you want to do layer on layer. It's all about whatever look you want to create. The next tip I want to show you is how to just take a piece of clip art and completely simplify it, creating a silhouette of the image. Now, a silhouette of the image can be beneficial for a number of things. One, it can be beneficial as a complete full background design in a complementing color, or sometimes you may just want a silhouette of the image to put on the garment so you don't have to weed all the details, whether it's a baseball player or a basketball player. So let's bring a piece of clip art back in from the Stahls CutUps program and show you both. Pick another category. Let's go with football this time. Let me find one that we can use as a good example here. This one might be good. Let me open this up. Make it a little larger for us to see. Okay, so here's a good example where we'd have to take a weeder and weed out these individual components if we cut it as is. An easy way to make just a silhouette of the image is basically go up to Arrange with the clip art selected and you break it apart. This is about as simple as it gets. Then if you go to the wireframe view so you can see all the interior components, you just need to draw a box around the whole design and just stop a little bit short of that outline layer, making sure you've encompassed every other interior component that you want to delete. Once I let go, it selects all the interior pieces that the box was drawn completely around. Hit delete, and I have a simple silhouette of a football player ready to cut. Likewise, another area where you may want to do the silhouette feature, if I go back a couple steps here, is if I want to do a contour function. So if I want to create an outline to the outside of this design, but I don't want all these interior pieces, I applied the contour, but then let's break this apart and change this color so you can see it a little better. If I don't want this two color, this is pretty complicated, I can drag this away. That's my foreground. And I'm going to go ahead and create a silhouette of just the background. Once again, I want to break that particular piece apart, go to the wireframe view, draw a box around all this stuff, click delete. Now if I go back to the normal view, I have a full background, so I can simply, in the application step, drop the player and have a full bleed on the background. So it's just another unique way to manipulate graphics and really make something different out of the clip art that you're seeing in the book.